Hey there everybody, Eric from Limitless coming at you today with another video. Now today's video is pretty cool. I am getting into some field testing with the TFK T17. This is the Outer Limitless design, something I've been working on now for over a year and 9 months in the design and build process. Now at this point this knife is a prototype, so what I'm doing today is some field testing to see how this overall performs. There's one thing to have an idea in your mind and think you know how something's going to work, but today where we're going to do some field testing, the proof is in the pudding. So I'm going to put this knife through the paces, do my best to give it a good overall workout, make sure that everything performs the way I had imagined, and we'll see if there are any design changes that need to be made. So today's a reasonably nice day, but it is pretty cold. It's close to freezing, but not quite. Can't see my breath. It's a little bit chilly, so it is going to be a good hard test for this knife. Now with that said, I have a whole bunch of testing to do, but before we get to it, do me a favor. Stay tuned. So one of the most important things for me is that this performs well as a hard use blade. So I'm definitely going to do a whole bunch of batoning tasks. That is one of the fundamental reasons why I designed this the way I did. And then the other thing would be chopping tasks. So I'm curious to see first how this is going to split the wood and what that does to the edge, making sure it has good overall edge retention, no damage to the blade, making sure that the heat treat is well done. That is going to be one of the most important things to make sure that this performs overall very well and is good and strong. But then with the chopping tasks, does this handle perform the way I hope it does? I want to make sure that there's a good overall purchase on the blade and that this contouring and texturing doesn't create any hot spots. So one of the main objectives, making sure that I test the overall quality and comfort of the handle. So now getting into this here, I figure we might as well start with batoning tasks. If this knife can't perform this, it doesn't even deserve to move on. So that performed well so far. Good overall start. Gonna go to some stuff that's just a little bit larger here. Kind of work this wood and split it apart into a number of pieces. As you can see here, it is about the maximum span I could go with this blade. So this should be a pretty good test for this. Getting that tiny little piece of the tip there. See if I can get this down and through. That should test it. Oh man. Not sure I can make it through that, but I'll go this way. Now again, keeping in mind, this wood is kind of frozen, has a little bit of moisture, and it's been quite cold here, so definitely frozen wood. Now I'm actually pretty encouraged, even whaling on this. There's not too much in the way of shock through the handle, which is great. That's actually pretty good for an overall start. So I'm going to baton a little bit more here, split some of this down a little bit smaller, and then we'll take a quick look at this, see how it's holding up. So far so good. You'll notice there the logo is now a little smudged. Be curious to see that once I clean up the blade, and then very curious to see how this finish holds up over time, but so far on the batoning tasks feels very good. So now chopping, I'll be curious to see how this feels in the hand, whether or not I need to re-grip frequently. Now I do not have a lanyard on here, but we'll take some hacks at this and see how it goes. Now there were definitely some nice chunks flying, and before I blow through this log altogether, I thought I'd take a look at, how deep the penetration there was. You could see it was doing a very nice job. Overall chopping had a little bit of a tendency to slightly roll in my hand, but not too bad. I think with a lanyard that would kind of solve some of that. And you can see here that definitely just, I took a good chunk of this away in not too much time. So that was the idea for me. I wanted a knife that was going to be kind of a moderate chopper. Certainly not a chopper size. Something that could kind of do the work, even though that's not only its intended purpose. Now, partway through this testing, I'd like to take a quick look at the edge. That's what I like about TFK. Their D2 heat treat is wonderful. There may be just one tiny little nick. Maybe right there. Nope, that's just dirt. This edge is still pristine. So even after all that chopping, no hot spots, actually the handle feels great. Like I said, it had a little bit of a tendency to roll on me just a bit, but I think with a lanyard helping to index it, it might work a little better. This actually worked very well, felt good in the hand, didn't create any hot spot with this texture as I thought it might. So that is a great start, good indication of the overall comfort of the handle. So now what about carving tasks? Obviously there are multiple grips, especially with that finger choil. I'm going to use the full grip of the handle here, getting on it. That edge geometry feels great, capable of getting right through the wood, taking some nice slices. Now the jipping is mild enough that it's not bothering my thumb. I can feel it, but it's not bothering me. So I'm going to continue to carve it down using this sort of full grip here. Get this down into a nice little vampire spike here. Easing up a bit. Very easy to find this edge, and that is just an awesome thing. I'm definitely digging this edge geometry, which is great. And now gripping the knife with the finger choil gives you a little bit more control, which is what I like about the finger choil. Kind of gives you a little better leverage when you're carving. And now here, while I'm gripping a little further up, you'll see my thumb does go just a little bit past the jimping. So where I did have another one of these blades with a squared off spine, that would be a consideration, something to think about, just the placement of your thumb when you're doing these carving tasks. So I guess it just kind of depends on the user and the overall preference. But again, very easy to find that edge geometry and just taking some nice healthy chunks of wood here. So definitely comfortable. And the way the handle feels is also very comfortable. I like the grip and how really my fingers are indexing. I feel as though I'm starting to feel a little bit better about the overall shape of the handle there. So generally speaking, I am definitely very encouraged. And then even doing little push cuts up closer to the tip of the blade here. Nice and controlled. Feels generally good in the hand. That is one benefit to not having the overly sharpened spine. This blade is good and sharp in all sections of the blade, which is definitely awesome. So TFK did a wonderful job with this edge from the tip all the way to the choil. Sweet. And another qualifying factor for me, the ability for a knife to make some nice fine feathers. So testing the geometry here, that feels great. You'll see planing right down through the wood very comfortably, and that's where that finger choil definitely comes into play. So giving you that nice quality control here. Just slicing nicely right down the wood. So granted, these feathers aren't staying on here, but I am managing to get overall nice control and these really fine curls, which is awesome. Paper thin. Nice.